Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your f***ing cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
Well, all right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of on the All Sports All Plays Network. This is Unscripted with your boy Jay McLovin and none other than Babyface Logan Landers. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, Jay? Getting geared up for the weekend. As you know, we got one more day left. Tomorrow's Friday. And, yeah, man, we got some good football playoff action this weekend, of course. And you know what Saturday is. Of course, we know there's some good games. But we got our own little event on Saturday, too. We got a very special guest coming on. Why don't you tell the people at home who we have coming on, too, we're going to be interviewing?
Yes, we have none other than Robert Duran Jr., son of famous boxer Roberto Duran. Man, what a time to be alive. He's out there. He's been boxing for – we've had him on the show at least, 2 or 3 times. So I know for a fact we've known him for about 2 or 3 years in a boxing game. But he's been doing it for a little bit. I think he just turned around the 30th, 30 years old. We'll have more information, of course, as we get into the show on Saturday. But, man, hey, if you want to see – the guy's great. And if you haven't seen him box before, the guy is electric. He has quick hands, quick feet, and he certainly can get around the ring like his old man did. Logan?
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, he's a great fighter. If you want to check out, I think, on our TikTok, I made a little hype video for him. It's only about a minute, maybe, if that, just showing off some of his skills in a fight he had. So go over there and check that out if you want to get a little sneak preview of some of his fights and some of his action.
Yeah, so yeah, keep that in mind. Unscripted Sports on TikTok and Unscripted Guys on Twitter, all one word. Unscripted Guys, all one word. And you can always keep up with the up-to-date stuff that's going on here at Unscripted, as well as everything else. If you go to Unscripted on the Facebook page as well. But yeah, man, hey, I guess we'll jump right into it. Get this party started, Logan.
Let's do it.
Let's see here. The stream. So what the hell, Jim Harbaugh? What the hell? What's going on out there in the world of Michigan? You just finished. You ranked what, number 3, I think it was, in the Final Four, and then you lost, of course, obviously to TCU, but still, man, respectably, you got into the top 4. You haven't been there in a hot minute, and so you don't make it, obviously, to the title game. So what? You go home and lie to investigators about doing some recruiting and some tampering during what they call the quote unquote COVID dead period, and you get your hand caught in the cookie jar. Jim Harbaugh's caught lying, refuses to talk to them, I guess in hopes that it'll go away, which we know it won't. But a couple of questions, Logan. Number 1, what does this mean for Jim Harbaugh? And number 2, what does this mean for the Michigan program as they try to get back into it next year and get back to the title game?
Well, one, Jay, I would assume, right, if he is, if obviously that it has came out that he potentially has been lying. Of course, him and the school say he hasn't. And, so the law says another thing. So that's going to be a back and forth battle for God knows how long. But, I mean, Jay, I mean, this could be this is a serious allegation. I mean, because, I mean, the NCAA doesn't really mess around with recruiting scandals. I mean, especially in kind of recent years, too, they've been known to lay down a harsh law. And, I mean, they could vacate wins, they could vacate bowl wins, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, Harbaugh could potentially leave the program if it gets that bad. We don't know yet. We're just kind of throwing out stuff, but it's not a good look, right? And for a guy who was entertained by a handful of teams in the NFL, really the last 2 seasons, and for someone who has honestly, Jay, he's really turned the Michigan program around, especially the last 2 years, got them in the Final Four, I believe, both years. And, he's really helped revitalize the program into a good powerhouse school in terms of football. And you hope that there's not just a mass exodus of people who are going to be leaving or choose not to come here because of that. Because, I mean, some people value the truth more than others, right? Value your word, especially as a head coach. You're leading young men who are, 18 through 20, 21, maybe a little bit older in some cases. But people who are impressionable, men who are, they're looking for someone to lead them into battle, not just on the field, Jay. That's one thing, not what you can do on the field, but also help you in some, difficult times through your life. And if you see that your head coach, someone that you look up to, someone who's been around the game for a long time, respected in a lot of different circles, who is potentially, right, because we're not sure if this is all out there or whatever yet, if he's allegedly lying to judges about recruiting and whatnot, it's just not a good look. And I mean, if it does come out that he was, I don't know how Michigan's higher brass is going to handle this. If they're going to, maybe suspend him for some time, or outright fire him, or maybe just fine him a couple $1,000s or what have you, or we'll see. And if it turns out that he was not lying, it'll get swept under the rug, and it'll just be one of those things where he had a court case and he won it. So I mean, there's a lot at play here, a lot at stake. It's something that just really kind of came out of the woodworks that, because you normally hear chatterings about this stuff, right? You hear rumors about it, but this just kind of came from out of nowhere, and it has really been blowing up in the past really day or two.
Right. Yeah. I just think from a leadership standpoint, if you're not cooperating, like you said, what kind of a message does that send to your student athletes and how they go and how they deal with things going forward as well? So a lot is riding on that for Jim, and I hope everything works out for him. But at the end of the day, man, hey, you got to be accountable for what you got to be accountable for. So, sometimes you got to take it on the chin. Another thing I want to talk about real quick was Arondas Chapman, taking one on the chin, right? So everybody knows that Arondas Chapman has had his ups and downs with the New York Yankees. Most recently on a down period where he got frustrated. They wound up benching him. He wound up basically leaving for the playoffs and not going to the playoffs. I think he wanted to go like Miami or someplace like that and chilled out. So we knew right then and there that was the beginning of the end for Arondas Chapman. I don't know what the Yankees are going to do for their closer, because now they're down to Hamill. And I don't know about you, Logan, but I was not impressed at all with Hamill last year. So I'm not really expecting big things from him. But I will say on the Arondas Chapman issue is the fact that he signed a 1-year, $3.75 million deal with Kansas City, which tells you that he's on a veteran minimum prove-it deal. And so he's got to go into Kansas City now and prove it. And, there's nothing better that gets your game back on the right track and the right swing of things when you go to a successful franchise like the Kansas City Royals. God, you might as well just set that dude straight down, designated for assignment.
Yeah. The Royals are a team who are obviously they're not a powerhouse right now. They're trying to get things back on track. I mean, it feels like ages ago, Jay, that they won a World Series, right? It's been less than 10 years. I believe it was 2014 or 15. 2015 they won the World Series, I believe. So, I mean, it's only been what is that now? 7 years, give or take.
Yeah,
7 years, something like that, which feels like a lifetime ago, like I said. But for Chapman, he's been in the league now for I believe over 10 years. Came in I think in 2010, sounds right. So he's a vet, right? Obviously, he came out the gates electric. Everyone was just marveling over how fast this dude could throw, how many strikeouts he was getting with Cincinnati there in the NL Central. And now we get, like you say, went to New York. Things did not go well there at all. Not just with the on the field stuff, had some off the field issues with the domestic violence, and also right there at the end of the playoffs, like you talked about, where he just no showed pretty much at practices and whatnot. So not a good look for him. But like you said, he signed a cheap deal, a 1-year deal with Kansas City to try and get it turned around. And if he does well, I don't think Kansas City would really hold on to him. I don't think they have a need for him, honestly, especially if they're struggling. I mean, if he does well that first half of the season, Jay, I would move him. I mean, I would trade him to maybe a contender, someone who is, in the running, who would need a good bullpen arm if he is successful, right? That's the big if.
right.
And if he's struggling, either just keep him on the team if your team's not doing so hot, or send him down. I mean, honestly, the Royals can't really lose in this situation. I mean, they didn't shell out a big contract for him. It's a cheap deal. So, I mean, for Kansas City, they're just like, hey, we'll take a flyer on this guy. If it works out for us, great. And if not, then, we didn't lose a whole lot of cash on it, and it's only for one season. So, I think it's a fine deal. Like I said, we'll see how he can do out there in KC. But, I mean, I'm not expecting him to go turn back into his all-star form. If he does, great. But for me personally, I just don't see him going back to that. I think he'll be serviceable, and he'll be fine. But I do think he'll turn it around a little bit better than he was in New York. Because, I mean, that's just, when you go from New York to Kansas City, that's a big, big culture shock. A lot less attention on you, a lot less pressure. So that maybe he'll thrive in that system. We'll see.
Yeah, Frankie got mad because I called him Hamill instead of Holmes, Clay Holmes, whatever. That's because nobody cares, Frankie. He's a crappy closer on a crappy team that did a crappy season. Nobody cares, okay? I'm just sitting here letting you know that Aroldis Chapman is no longer on your team, which we all know you're happy about. I would be happy about too. I'm not a big Aroldis Chapman. I feel like more towards the end of his career, his ball started getting away from him. His accuracy started getting away from him, and he just could not locate his pitch for anything. And he wound up actually going like 4 for 4. I think he had like 9 saves, and I think he had a 4.43 ERA with like a 1.43 whip or something like that. I mean, just
nothing to write home about.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he was not doing well towards the end of that career. So the fact that he's actually gone probably was a service rather than a disservice to the New York Yankees. And I feel bad for the Royals. I don't know what they were thinking, but go Royals.
Let's go, Kansas City.
We're gonna jump right into this, man. Let's talk some NFL, Logan.
Jay.
Man, let's get into it, man. Let's pull off the paper coating and get right into the nitty gritty. First up on the item up for bids, man. Let's talk a little Jags and Chiefs. Woo-wee! I'll tell you, had this been the Jags of last year, I would have no problems telling you the Chiefs without a shadow of a doubt. I still don't have a problem telling you that the Chiefs are going to win this game. However, I will tell you, I do see this game being a hell of a lot closer than what people would have thought last year. If this would have been the Jags of last year coming into the building. But given what the Jags have done this year and how they played coming into the regular season, into the playoffs, the win streak that they were on, and the fact that they took care of business in San Diego, I feel like Trevor Lawrence kind of came out a little shaky in that game. He was a little nervous, first playoff game ever. But he settled in, and he got the win. That's really what all matters is do you get the win? Do you settle down? And I think now that he's going into Kansas City, yeah, he'll still be nervous, but he will have already had some play time now getting ready for this game. And I tell you what, Logan, man, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see, number one, how does Jacksonville, whoever wins the coin toss, if Jacksonville does not get the coin toss, I want to see how their defense comes out and see if they put a curb stomp on top of Patrick Mahomes' helmet. And then also I want to see, can they actually come out there and get Travis Etienne running the ball and which will then open it up for Trevor Lawrence to do what he needs to do. But what is your overall perspective of this game, Logan?
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. Prior to this week, I would not have had this game a lot closer than I thought it would be. But I mean, Jacksonville, man, they've been a red hot team, maybe the hottest team in football in the last X amount of weeks. Big shout out to the coaching staff there. Also, they've done a tremendous job turning this team around. Who looked like they were going to be in the gutter after the Urban Meyer failed experiment, right? They looked awful. But I mean, here they are a year later in the divisional round. I mean, potentially going up against one of, if not the best quarterback in the league currently, Patrick Mahomes. So I mean, you could maybe label this a battle of the present versus the future with these two guys here, with Mahomes and with Lawrence. And Lawrence has really done a good job. I mean, he has had his struggles, right? And it's not like he's been out there throwing for 40 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions, nothing crazy like that. But he showed something last week, Jay, and really the whole team did, that a lot of players, a lot of quarterbacks don't really have, and that's that Mamba mentality, that killer mentality, man. They went at it and they were down a large sum, and they came back, and for so a lot of different reasons, obviously, but they won that ball game fair and square. And Trevor Lawrence's spectacular play in the second half was really what helped drive that. So I'm still going to go with KC winning this one. I just think that they're just a phenomenal franchise. I equate them to kind of like the Spurs, in the 2000s, the early 2010s, how they're just so well run, and it seems like they're always in the playoff no matter who you have on the roster. But I got KC winning this one. I think Rob Scott put in there, he put 28-17 Chiefs. And then John Suggs put 32-20 Chiefs also. And I think those are both good scores. I think KC will get the W in this one. But I don't think Jacksonville is just going to lay down and be like a dead fish. I think they're going to fight. I think it's going to be a really good game, honestly. And he said the Jags have a lot of potential next year if they're picked, and they're getting Calvin Ridley, which will give the Jacksonville. That is true. They need to help out their defense, John. And with Ridley coming back, I mean, that's just another great weapon. And honestly, Jay, I was a big kind of stickler or whatever you want to call it, because I thought they overpaid a bunch of these wide receivers this past year. I mean, they were a bunch of guys who were not number ones. They were good. They were solid pieces, but they weren't true, number one guys you can look for. But Jay, I mean, if you throw a bunch of number 2 receivers out there, I mean, it really works. It does. It proves you don't really have to have that number 1 star receiver to be successful. I mean, these guys are getting it done. I mean, I think, Jay, if you put this group of receivers with, like, the New York Giants, I mean, oh, my goodness, that would be a really scary team, honestly. I love ETN. I've loved him since college. I think he's a phenomenal running back. He proved that last week. And Lawrence is starting to grow on me, Jay. I mean, I know, obviously, he's a former number 1 overall pick and whatnot, but he's really starting to shine, I think, this past year. And we'll see how he can do this upcoming game against KC.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, I thought it was really interesting to see that, like you said earlier, Rob Scott had 28-17. John Suggs had 32-20. So Rob Scott's given an 11-point win margin, and John Suggs is given a 12-point win margin. But I think we all understand is that we all know that this game is going to be close, and it's not going to be a cakewalk like maybe last year's Jags would have been a cakewalk. This year's Jags is actually going to be a formidable opponent. So, and it's good. That's what you want to see in football. You want to see formidable opponents and not just cakewalk teams. And I think that's what we're getting this year. I think this year, this playoffs, we're getting a formidable all around, all across the board, evenness to the competition, to where we really don't know who the clear-cut Super Bowl champion is going to be. We can speculate, but there's a lot of speculating you can do, right? Secondly,
bro, and I am all for that. I love that.
Oh, I know it's insane. And then, like you said, you have Trevor Lawrence, like Rob Scott says, goes out, throws 4 interceptions, has a resiliency, listens to his coach, comes back, turns it around, and then walks away with a W, looking for his best Joe Burrow cigar to smoke in the locker room.
Hey, there you go.
Be honest, right? I mean, he's looking for his best
look at
cigar
Tony.
in the locker room, man.
Look at Tony G. Tony Gonzalez with the Jags for the upset.
Yeah, he's good, man.
And honestly, Jay, would you even? I don't even know if I could even call this a major upset just with how good Jacksonville's been playing. I mean, they're not a pushover by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like this is a team who only won like 6 games or whatever, and they barely made the playoffs. They won their division, right? And you know, I mean, they're a solid team. And I think, I believe it was what Rob or John said that they've got a lot of good pieces to build for the next handful of years if everything turns out good.
Yeah, and you know, in terms of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I agree and disagree with that point, though. I agree that you don't have to have a number one to win a championship. I mean, look what Jacksonville, like you said, is doing. They don't have a true number one. Even back when the Ravens won that championship with Joe Flacco, they didn't really have a true number one either. They primarily were a run team that had a good defense, and that's really what you need. You need to have a good, strong defense, and you need to be able to protect the ball and not turn it over, you know, with interceptions or fumbles, and that really can get you majority of the way to a win. The rest of it will come on your offense, just making plays and getting downfield. And again, to that point, where it does help to have a number one wide receiver is whether it be your tight end like a Kelsey or an Andrews, or a number one actual wideout like a Jamar Chase or a Jefferson or so forth. You know, it's nice to have that one solid guy, because what that does is it allows them then to double team them, which then takes some of the pressure off of your number two guys, and that's really what allows those number two guys to flourish.
Right.
I think Amari Cooper was probably the best example of that for the Cowboys. He only had like 856 yards of receptions that year that they let him go. But if you look at Gallup and what CeeDee Lamb were putting up, they're putting up crazy numbers. And it's only because there was less pressure, because what Amari Cooper drew away from him in double teams. And I think that's where having a really good number one will help you, is it takes the double team or the extra pressure off the other wideouts. That's pretty much
And my last thought here, Jay, before we move on to our next game, the only thing that concerns me about Jacksonville is that defense. They got to play strong against this tough KC offense. And I mean, because we always say, if you don't have to have the best defense to win a championship, but you have to have a solid core. You have to have like a top 5, maybe top 10 defense at best, or worse, to have a good chance, in my eyes too, to win a Super Bowl or even get close to it. An O-line, that's a big one too. That's why Cincinnati lost last year. And also, something we never really talked about is you got to have a good special teams group also. I mean, you got to have guys who are reliable, who can kick the field goals, who can get the extra points, who are not going to fumble the ball with punt returns and whatnot. So, I mean, it really is a whole team effort. I think Jacksonville, like I said, I think they got some good pieces. I just don't think they're there quite yet. But, I mean, if they keep building on this group, I think they could get there maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony says KC has let a lot of teams hang around. That could be dangerous with a team like the Jaguars. And I agree. You can't let this team just hang around, because a lot of times, like you said, when you hang around, that's when mistakes happen. So, yeah, you can't let them just hang around. Moving on to the next game, though, the Giants and Eagles, speaking of hanging around, I tell you, I got to be honest with you. I think this Giants team can beat the Eagles, Logan. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But I'll tell you what, I think the biggest weakness or the biggest thing that's going to hurt the Giants is going to be that offensive line. Can they protect Daniel Jones for him to be able to get the ball out to his receivers? And also will they allow Saquon Barkley to be able to run? And, Saquon Barkley, I still feel like every time I see him touch the ball, he's just a cut or whatever away from going down with the ACL tear, MCL tear, or whatever. And I hate to quote unquote speak as I press on wood that doesn't happen. But I don't know, man. The Jaguars, they do have a good team, man. This Dable effect, it's almost like watching the Buffalo Bills get metamorphed into the New York Giants. But Logan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another game that, kind of coming into the playoffs, no one really thought it would be a close battle, a close matchup. But now that we're here, I mean, Jay, there are some people picking the Giants to win this ball game. Just with how good they looked last week, with Saquon doing his thing, looking serviceable. And like you said, I hope he doesn't get injured. He looked phenomenal this season, honestly. I know last year it was a little bit rough for him coming off that injury, but this year he looked great. So hopefully he can continue his good run there. And also, Jay, I might throw it out there. He might not win it, but I think Daniel Jones deserves that most improved player. I think he needs to at least be in that conversation. Am I right?
Oh
Just with
yeah,
how
absolutely.
just with how good he's
Put
looked.
Daniel Jones in there for crying out loud.
True. Yeah. I mean, both those dudes. But yeah, like I said, it really just builds on for the Giants. Can the O line hold up? Can they give Jones enough time to work in the pocket without having to scramble? Which I mean, he's well adapted with that. Obviously, he ran for I think 80 plus yards or some odd last week, which was
Yeah.
leading the team. But you don't want that, right? You don't want you want to try to avoid your quarterback scrambling for his life as much as you can. And as long, if they can give Saquon and Jones some time to work back there and find some holes and whatnot, I think they got a good shot at winning this game. But it also too, it's a team that they faced a good bit during the regular season. Obviously, they're in the same division, so they know the team very well. And for Philly, right, talking about them real quick, we'll see how Jalen Hurts can do. We know he's been out recently with some injuries and whatnot. We'll see how good he can look. But mostly, man, I think the real story is, can that Philadelphia defense show up like it has pretty much the whole season, right? Can they do what they're supposed to do, what we've all been touting them to do, and being the top defense in the league, stuffing the run obviously with Jordan Davis up there and crew. So we'll see. It's a battle of a solid offense, a pretty good offense, a well-run offense against a just absolutely heart-wrenching, just dirty, grinding defense, and that's the good battles I like to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, Tony goes on to say the Giants need to get off to a good start, get that lead, put pressure. Of course, yeah. And again, John Suggs goes on. You kind of do want your quarterback to scramble because they struggled against Justin Fields, and then John Suggs finished it off with upset. If the Giants can get the run game down, Eagles struggled stopping the run, and he's got a 24-20. And I agree with you. And that's what I was saying. Saquon Barkley's got to have a big day. He's got to have that career game that we've been waiting for him to have. He needs to have that career game against the Eagles because they're going to need every bit of that run game, every bit of that defense from the Giants to hold down Hurts. But again, like John Suggs said, they do have a weak run defense over there in Philly. So that could be where Saquon Barkley can exploit. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, if Saquon can wear those guys out, right? Obviously, I think the first, early on, I think Philly's going to be hyped up and everything for the game and whatnot. But as long as they can keep pounding the rock, maybe, and wearing those guys out, just kind of play the longevity game with them, have the big guys tired out. I think that's where you can maybe see Saquon bust out a nice run for a lot of yards and get in the end zone. But I think this is going to be a good game. I can see this one being. I see the Giants beating the Eagles more, kind of like less of an upset than Jacksonville defeating Kansas City. Because the Giants have really impressed over the last few weeks. I think they've looked really well. Dable has been phenomenal, and we'll see what they can do.
Yeah. Also, and again, I think what could hurt the Giants too is just like I feel like the Eagles don't have a good run. I don't think the Giants have a good run. And you gotta go up against Miles Sanders. And Miles Sanders, as we know, is a running type of running back. So I wonder how good of a day Miles Sanders will have. I see a lot of ball control in this game.
We'll see. Tony said the key is the line of scrimmage. That's the Eagles' strong point. Yes, sir, you are right. Hey, that's what we always say, Jay. Battles are won and lost in the NFL on the trenches, whether it's offense or defense, man. Absolutely. But especially in the playoffs, man. That's where you got to be able to be strong. And I'm looking forward to this game, though, man. I'm looking forward to it. But what do we got up next? What's our next ball game?
Yeah, man. So next up on the top is the Bengals and Bills, man. Jeez, man. I'm telling you, hey, there is no place to hide now in the playoffs. We are down to the epicenter of teams. I mean, the creme de la creme, if you will. And in this Bengals and Bills game, I'm looking for Burrow to come out and decimate the Bills secondary, because I think that's where the Bills are the weakest, obviously, given the number of injuries that they've had. I think that's where Joe Burrow can exploit. Also, by that same token, the Bengals' offensive line has got to be able to withstand that defensive front line of Buffalo. And I think those are the two biggest things: the D line of Buffalo and the offensive line of the Bengals. Again, the battle of the trenches. And I think Stephon Diggs needs to have a big day. What do you think, there, Logan?
Yeah, man. I've said this since the playoffs came out. My picks, my picks for the Super Bowl. I'll name the first team. I had the Bengals in there. I had them running back, Jay. I just had a feeling about him, brother. And let me see here. We got a comment. John Suggs said the Bengals looked like frauds last week. They didn't. Hey, I mean, they didn't look sharp, but honestly, Jay, for me, each game is different, right? I don't really hold a whole lot going from game to game because there's two different game plans and whatnot. But man, like you set it up perfectly. It's the O line of the Bengals versus the D line of Buffalo, right? And God, if you're Buffalo, you wish you had Von Miller right about now, bro. Oh goodness, because that would be, that would make it a lot more, an easier job for Buffalo, we'll say, right? If they had him on the line doing his work. But unfortunately, we know he's been out for quite some time. And, I mean, like I said, the Bengals struggled last week, but a win's a win. And here they are. But I think this one's going to be a shootout, Jay. I got this one being a high-scoring affair. And that's why I picked, Cincinnati to rock with it. Just because I like their offense, and I think they got a good team. And as long as they can keep Burrow upright, not on the ground 10 times or whatever, I think they got a legit shot at winning this ball game. And as for Buffalo, just real quick, they're a stacked team, and what a lot of people pick them to go to the Super Bowl and even win it. And I like Buffalo. I do. I don't know, Jay. It's just whenever you got a feeling in your soul, and you got to go with it. And that's why I've been rocking with Cincinnati. And like I said, no discredit for Buffalo. I could easily see them win this ball game. I think they're a super talented team. But I got to rock with the Bengals, bro.
Yeah, Tony asked me who I picked on the last game. I'm picking the Eagles, but I would not be surprised if the Giants go in there and pull off the upset. If Giants get the upset, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I'm going with you. I got the Eagles as well.
But I do think the Eagles walk away with that win.
Make our guy, Philly sports guy, happy.
Bro, hey, if oh my Lord, if the Eagles lose though, damn. Damn. I guess Philly sports guy would be really, really quiet.
If they lose, it's been a rough sports year for Pags already. The Phillies losing the World Series. The Flyers, I don't think are looking too hot right now. And then obviously if Philadelphia gets knocked out, it's rough. The Sixers, hey, he's still got the Sixers, right? They're still looking solid. But hey, we still love you, Pags. We gotta have you come back on soon. And talk about your season, bro.
If they make it past this one, I'll try to see if we can get Pags in here.
Oh, perfect.
If they do that.
Get them hyped up for the conference.
Man, hey, listen. Hey, that's kind of what I'm hoping happens, because if that happens, the Phillies win against Houston in the World Series, and now if the Cowboys and the Eagles meet in the NFC showdown, oh, my God, what a time to be alive. Yes, it is. God, what a time to be alive, man.
I got a feeling I know which game we're talking about next. Are we talking about Mr. Relevant?
I meant to ask you, so you picked the Bengals on the Bills and Bengals, right? I'm going with the Bengals. I got the Bengals, man. I think Mixon is going to be the X factor. I think the Eagles are going to have the better running game, and I think they're ultimately going to have the better passing game. And I think it's going to be too much for this Bills team to overcome. And so, I'm going with Bengals. John Suggs and Tony Gonzalez each went with the Bills. So I guess it's me against Tony and John.
Yeah, for me, that might be the closest game this week, honestly, just in terms of the margin and the score. I think that one has a legit shot at being like a 3-point ball game, if that, right? Just with the insane offenses of both these teams. I'm hyped for that one.
Yeah, and again, Tony says Eagles beat the Bills in the Super Bowl in overtime. It's possible that could happen. So that's definitely not out of the realm. Last game we'll go to talk about will be the Cowboys versus the 49ers. God, this game could be the best thing in the world, Ricky
Jay.
is the worst thing in my life.
This is going to determine Jay McLovin's mood for the 2023 off season, right?
Man.
Oh,
This is going to turn
man.
a lot of things for Jay, but yeah.
So John, you got the 49ers. Put why you got the 49ers. I want to hear your explanation for why.
Man,
Jay, this is the floor for you, brother.
I mean, they do have the three-headed monster. They do got Nick Bosa. They do got Purdy over there running the team. I mean,
but Jay, I want you as our resident Cowboys fan to give me however many amount of reasons, I don't care how many, how you think the Cowboys can win this ball game and how they can lose this ball game, and I'll talk about San Fran. How about that?
Yeah, hey, that's an easy one, man. They win the game by doing what they did not, or by basically fixing what they did last year. Last year, we went up against the 49ers. This game was actually in Dallas at the time. Now I think we're going to the 49ers, which I'm glad because I'd rather be on the way at this point and get out of Dallas. But no, seriously, they won that game by the Cowboys committed too many penalties. I think they had 16 penalties in the first half. Then came alive in that second half and started to battle back. By that point, it was just too much, too late, too soon. So what do the Cowboys need to do this year? The Cowboys need to play as close to turnover-free ball as they can. They've got to protect the ball. That's going to be number one. Number one is control the penalties. Number two is protect the ball. And number three is run, baby, run all night long. Yes, you will. Because by running the ball, it reduces how much time the three-headed monster of San Francisco is on the field. Because we know they're going to run the ball. It's just going to be a matter of who, when, and how they run the ball. There's a lot of questions when it comes to that 49ers team that I wish they had the same questions in Dallas, but we don't. But, yeah, Dallas has to run the ball, be mistake-free, and then put the crap pressure on Purdy and that offensive line. And then Pollard just got to run the ball. He just got to run the ball.
All right, those are good reasons. I'll talk San Fran for you, and then we can move it on. Also, let me check out these comments real quick here. Let me see. Okay, Frankie was saying the Bills. He said, crazy the Bills not making it to the Super Bowl. They don't know how to. Let's see. John said the run game, defense, Debo, Purdy, stats, Niners is deeper than Dallas. He said field goals, flags, you name it. Rob Scott chiming in saying they're going to have to put hands on Purdy. Our guy Tony Gonzalez saying, sorry, no my picks this week. Eagles win and the Bills beat the Bengals in OT. Rob Scott once again saying it's too many playmakers over there in San Francisco. And finally, Tony saying Dallas, run the damn ball. And that's what Jay's been saying. Okay, Jay, so for me, for San Fran, and also, too, I got to throw in there one thing about Dallas for you. Dak doesn't have the exact same performance he had last week, right? Because he proved a lot of people wrong with that top-tier performance last week against Tampa. But, I think our commenters have been putting it out there. San Fran is deep, bro. I mean, that is a 10-foot pool of water deep right there they got. I mean, obviously, we know what Debo's about. Debo's probably, I would say, the most versatile offensive player in football, just with what he can do with running the ball, with catching the ball, with running around. I mean, he's an electric player. Obviously, you got your backfield with McCaffrey and with Mitchell, who's looked really good also. McCaffrey's been a great addition to that team. And like I said, when healthy, he's a great running back, and that's just kind of what we've been waiting for. And then who the hell thought Brock Purdy would lead this team even this far? I mean, like you said, man, everyone's been talking about it. Literally the last pick in the draft. A guy who was on the third string when the season started behind Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. And then obviously we know the injuries to both those guys. But, Jay, he has stepped in there and utilized his – it's not just the team around him that has looked good. He has looked good. It helps he has all these weapons for sure. But for a guy who went through, 256 or whatever, 55 other draft picks, Jay, he has looked like a pro since he stepped in. Obviously, he's had some rough moments. Of course, he is still young. And also John saying they have Frank Warner or Fred Warner, yes, on defense, rocket things. But I think San Francisco has. I mean, I said the Bengals had a really good offense, but I think San Francisco has the most just creative and versatile. You can plug in so many players, but you don't have a fullback for God's sake, Jay, with Jurchik or however you say his name. I mean, they have a deep bag on offense, and their defense is super solid. We all know the playmakers over there with Bosa, mentioned Fred Warner, and Rob Scott saying Purdy is way better than Lance. That's a discussion we're going to have in the offseason about what they're going to do with this quarterback room because, my goodness, is it been shaken up quite a bit like a WWE draft. But, Jay, I think the Niners are a solid team. I think your boys have really done good. But, hey, like I said when the playoffs came out, I have been saying this, and I ain't getting off my pedestal. I love you, brother, but I got Cincy and I got San Fran in the championship game in the Super Bowl.
Oh God!
And I've been saying this since I've been saying it.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate. Hey, look, man, nobody's gonna fault you for that. It's a good stat pickup. But hey, John Suggs was not right about the Cowboys. I do feel like, yeah, is San Francisco deep? Of course, San Francisco is pretty deep. But I also think the Cowboys are just as deep. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, yeah, you guys got Nick Bosa, but we got a lot of other players, right? We got Trevor. I mean, we got D-Law, Micah Parsons, Armstrong. I mean, our secondary is pretty good. So I don't know, man. I mean, I like the 49ers, but don't discount and don't overlook this Cowboys team because we almost beat y'all last year. One possession. And if we clear up the penalties and we don't commit all those penalties like we did last go around, again, Dallas has to not be Dallas. Dallas has all the right tools. They just got to get out of Dallas's way and just let Dallas do what Dallas does. We will see. But, yeah, he said I'm going for a blowout.
38-20.
49ers. Hey.
Also, John said he's got Lance going to the Titans. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they might rock with Malik Willis for a season, see how that goes. I think Tannehill, I think they might end that experiment soon and go with Willis. I mean, they did draft him, I think, maybe like the third, fourth round, something like that. It wasn't like it was a super late pick. But I think they might. I know he didn't look super sharp this year. But maybe give him an off season to prep and everything, and maybe they might rock with him this year. Trey Lance, like I said, we'll talk about it in the off season about what the San Francisco Giants or the Niners, what they can do with this quarterback room, man. But my God, that's going to be interesting once we get to the off season.
And then Tony says Dallas has a team that could win. They do have a team that could win it all. They just have to get out of their own damn way and let their team do what their team is supposed to do.
And Jay, don't let Mike McCarthy do Mike McCarthy things. I know how you feel about that.
Oh man, you know how much I hate Mike McCarthy, and he will do Mike McCarthy things. And again, that's why Dallas will be Dallas. If we had Sean Payton behind the wheel, we'd probably have 2 Super Bowl rings right about now. But
that is true. Also, thank you, Frankie, for bringing that up. Yeah, man. Sad news in the world of wrestling. Ring of Honor legend, independent wrestling legend, Jay Briscoe, one of the best tag teams ever, passed away tragically in a car accident the other day. Taking his 2 daughters to cheerleading practice. Daughters, I believe, are okay. They're in the hospital. But, yeah, man, just real unfortunate. I believe he was 38. And just a sad situation all around. I've seen them live. I watched a lot of their matches. And, Jay, I feel like we're going to have to show you a few matches in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because also they kind of remind me of you, man, just with how they look. They're hard-hitting. They're fast. They're nasty. We'll definitely show you a few matches, and but thanks for bringing that up, Frankie. Yeah, man, rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, Tony.
Dallas needs one more receiver.
John says,
isn't that what Dallas been saying? Isn't that what Jay? I know you've been saying for Dallas for years now. They need just one more receiver. If they need that one more, Sean Payton. Why does everyone think he's the GOAT?
I don't think he's the GOAT. I think that belongs to Belichick. But
I would say Payton's a better coach than McCarthy. Yeah, I mean that's definitely an upgrade, I think. But like I said, I mean honestly, I forgot about Sean Payton. I thought he'd be done retired by now. I mean, he's been gone for 2 years? I thought he'd be done for, but hey, he's got that Tom Brady effect, Jay. He's got that itch. It ain't been scratched. He wants to come back and get back in the war rooms and get back coaching on the field. And as someone who was watching Falcons games, that man's a good coach, and we'll be interested to see where he goes. But what we got up next?
Yeah, absolutely. And then John Suggs Payton going to the Cards, and Tony saw him in the dog collar match.
Yeah, good match there, Tony.
Talk about CJ Stroud, man. Where does CJ Stroud look? Look, there's a lot of good spots. Tony, hey, you guys have a decision to make. Do you take a CJ Stroud if he's available? I know you guys are drafting right around 4. You guys draft 4. The Raiders draft 7th. The Falcons draft 8. The Cardinals draft 3. And then the Texans draft 2. And the Bears draft 1. So there's a good possibility unless the Bears trade out of the 1 spot, which I still expect them to trade out of the 1 spot. I think if they don't, I think the Bears go defense. I think the first quarterback still goes to Houston Texans. I think it's going to be Bryce Young, which I think opens up C.J. Stroud to the Colts. What do you think, Logan?
Jay, I just want to touch on this real quick. I know it's not on topic. But, Jay, some people have put Will Levis over C.J. Stroud, and I don't understand it. I don't. I don't. Will Levis is a solid quarterback for Kentucky. But, man, I just think C.J.'s on a whole nother level. But back to the topic, obviously. Obviously, he's not going to Chicago. Chicago would be stupid to draft him. You don't need it. You got Justin Fields. Justin Fields looks solid. You don't need him. Obviously, I'm in a vote with you. We agreed on this the other day. I think they'll trade it. I don't know who to. But if they trade it to whoever and he's there for Houston, by God, Houston better get him. Because I feel like Texans fans are going to pull their hair out if Davis Mills is the quarterback next season. So I think definitely Houston, Indianapolis. Obviously, they need some work. They're looking at number 4 right now. Seattle potentially. I don't know what they're going to do with Geno. Jay, I don't know. So that's a question mark. Detroit. It sounds like they're going to rock with Jared Goff for a little bit longer. See how that can go. Vegas. I'm good with them getting C.J. Stroud. I would love that.
Oh yeah.
But man, I don't see them drop. And then Frankie said some people try to put Zach. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, some people try to put Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, Jay, I don't know why people did that. Don't get me wrong. Just looking at schools, Zach Wilson played at BYU. That is a lot more inferior competition than Trevor Lawrence played in the SEC or in the ACC with Dabo and then winning championships. He said Stroud or move back to get Carr. Much as I love Derek Carr, Jay, I would not trade a number 1 overall pick for him. That's just me.
And let's be honest.
As much as I love Derek Carr, I'm not trading my number 1 overall pick.
Hey, Logan. Let's just be honest. It's not like the Colts have had best success with free agent quarterbacks. Maybe we should try to draft for a change.
Obviously the last handful of years, the Phillip Rivers eras, the Matt Ryan era, and of course, who could forget the Carson Wentz era? I believe that was a trade, but still. That's 3 quarterbacks who just ain't worked out, brother. I don't know what it is. But just a few teams, obviously Vegas. I think they're a good fit. Carolina even, right? Carolina, I don't know what they're going to do, man. Sam Darnold's real iffy. But I think Indy is definitely going. Houston, and then Vegas. Those are just 3 teams I think should go for him, at least in the top 10. Other than that, I haven't really given it much thought. But, man, it's going to be insane. But John said, should the Vikings draft a quarterback or take over when Cousins is gone? I think the GM or someone pretty much came out and said that Cousins is going to be the QB next year. They're still going to rock with him. So I think that could pretty much be put to bed. I think crazy things have happened. But, man, like I said, Kurt's good. Kurt looks solid in the regular season, Jay. But it's the playoffs where he crumbles like a cookie. So, we'll see.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm the Vikings, I'm not worried about my quarterback position. I know Cousins can do the job. I'm more worried about getting that defense straight. They need to worry about getting them run stoppers and stuff like that more than they need to worry about that quarterback. If you look at it, when the Vikings played the Giants, it wasn't because of Cousins that they lost. It was because of that defense.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, don't get me wrong. Kirk did have a couple bad plays. Don't get me wrong. There, he wasn't like he was sharp as a
yeah, but he
tack.
wasn't.
I'm with you. He was not the main reason they lost that ball game. Let's just set that straight for everyone out there. But
no, I think the Raiders. I expect possibly the Raiders to move up. I expect
trade a couple picks.
the Falcons can make a move at number 8. And I think the Colts.
I don't see the Falcons, man. I think the Falcons look better with Ritter. Who I understand they still finished below 500. They finished at the same record they did last season, but just the team looked better with Ritter, and plus they didn't have Kyle Pitts for most of the season too. So I think they're going to rock with Ritter for at least another year. Like I said, they drafted him, I think, third round. So I think they'll roll with him. So I don't see the Falcons going after him.
Man, I wonder if they could, if the Bucs could re-sign Brady and trade him to the Raiders for Carr.
Whew. That's also interesting, man. And I know that theory's been thrown out everywhere.
I'd make that trade.
Okay, I mean, look. I don't care about the whole Brady's 45, whatever, bro. He looked good this year. Okay,
he threw for almost 5,000 freaking yards.
I'm about to say he looked great. Hold on. We got a few comments here. John said it's not a first round. I was saying like a Hendon Hooker or Bryce Young. There's a few quarterbacks that's diamond in the rough. Throw Stetson Bennett in there too as another diamond. Frankie said that they did fire their defense coordinator. So there you go, Jay. Already making some work there.
That one, what they needed to do.
Falcons have to draft because free agents they can't afford. Yeah, bro. The Falcons are just in cap hell. I mean, because they're still paying. I think a good chunk for that Julio contract. For that Matt Ryan contract, for a few other guys, I'm sure. But yeah, no, they're in some cap hell for a little bit. So that's what they got to draft good. And I mean, like I said, the Falcons got a few good pieces, but they're still a little bit away from getting back to contending in the South. Tony said a lot of people get Carr. Yeah, no. Carr's either going to get released or he's going to get traded. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, I think what's probably going to happen. If they can't find a trade for him, I think obviously they're just going to cut him. Vegas is going to eat that cap penalty, and then he'll go somewhere else, right? That's what we've seen for a few guys, handful of years. That's what Vegas will do. I mean, it's pretty much all set in stone. I mean, we saw the other day, or the week even, where Carr put out that emotional message on Instagram or on Twitter, Jay. Made me sad a little bit, just saying, that hurt my soul, man, because I'm a big Derek Carr fan. I just think he's a good dude, great person. And I'm a fan of his, but yeah, hate to see him go. But obviously, it's just sometimes you just gotta rip that Band-Aid off, say it ain't working, and just move on. But he said another team beat CJ Stroud. The Saints. Oh my God, yeah, the Saints would be a good one too, because I mean, obviously they don't trust Jameis Winston. They didn't put him in the ball game for half the season, even after he was healthy. Andy Dalton certainly is not the answer, not in this day and age, maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, hell
not now. Michael Thomas, if he can stay on the field, for God's sake. Chris Olave, I like him. They got a solid defense. I mean, there's a good bit of teams that need Stroud, but we'll see what can happen. What we got next, Jay? What's our next topic on the docket?
Yeah, hey, real quick before you go to the next topic, I did want to ask you one question, man.
Okay.
So with the Colts not having a head coach and Houston not having a head coach, we're getting ready to go into the draft, and they're going to have to make some pretty big decisions with those number 1 and number 4 picks. You got to imagine at some point before that draft that they're going to have their head coach in place, or do the general manager select the quarterbacks or whoever and then just fit them in?
I would hope you'd have your head coach in place. That way you can build your team, especially with the draft, and also get some free agents in. But I mean, I'm sure it would not be the first time where a team did not have a coach, and it was just the GM and whoever else drafting. But like you said, the Colts need some work. They're not as I mean, I thought they were going to be a lot better this year, honestly. But they just couldn't get it done. And John Suggs said Kirby Smart interviewed for the Colts today. I mean, so did Jim Harbaugh. And I mean, look where that brother's at. But No, I mean Kirby just signed a big extension with Georgia last year. Man, he's not leaving. Kirby's crazy, he's leaving. But yeah, no, I think Houston has a young team, right? They have I think they're the youngest team in the league in terms of like median age. On defense with Stingley, on offense you got Pierce. But I mean, those are just two teams who need some work around the edges and who definitely need a new quarterback in play.
That's interesting to me. This comment right here, breaking news, Kirby. Is that true? Because I saw that.
Let me look at that.
It was being trolled.
Let me see.
Because it had a troll that was posting it, so I wasn't 100% sure.
Let me check, Jay. Give me.
Check into that while I check this real quick.
Yeah, everything I'm seeing is it ain't. I'm not seeing anything official. So, if something does come out, I'll believe it. But for now, that looks like you might have read some bad info there.
All right, man. Where does Sean Payton wind up? I think we've thrown out.
We've thrown out some names.
Indianapolis. I know we've thrown out the Chargers. I know we've thrown out the Cardinals.
Yep.
The Texans, Cowboys. I mean, everybody's kind of been asking for permission from the New Orleans Saints as to can they talk to them? And pretty much New Orleans is saying, sure, you can talk to them. We want a first-round draft pick and considerations.
Yeah. Honestly, Jay, a team that I've seen thrown out there, and like I said, this might just be fantasy trades and whatnot in my head, and also just on Twitter, I've seen too. People have said the Raiders get Sean Payton and Brady. Like, what an insane combo that would be in one off-season swoop. So I've seen that thrown out there. And like you said, really just all the teams you mentioned there. Carolina was one also. I don't know, Jay. I feel like they should continue with the interim coach they had. Because, after they fired Matt Rule, and my God, they're going to be eating that contract for years to come, they looked like a better team. Obviously, they didn't look like the best team in the league. But, Jay, they traded their best player away, and they were still hanging in there. So, I mean, that he said Kirby is the great uncle of my third. Okay, sure, John. Sure, I mean.
You know what? I think the same guy he's related to was my mom's milkman.
Hey, and Ric Flair was my cousin's third great uncle.
Hey.
Woo! I mean, we're just throwing stuff out there. I'm just saying. But no, I definitely think Sean Payton will definitely get back in the coaching system. I think Jay also. I think Arizona will be a good fit. He can work with Kyler Murray, kind of like how he worked with Drew Brees back in the day. Obviously, they got to get a new. I don't trust Connor after running back. I just don't think he's the issue or he's the right fit. But if you can go out there with Murray, you got D-Hop still, and you have a defense with some good pieces. I mean, that's kind of what Sean Payton resembled with the Saints back in the day, right? You had Drew Brees, you had some really good receivers, you had a really good defense, and that's kind of what's mimicking there, and could potentially be the Saints 2.0 out there in Arizona if things go according to plan. So, I mean, I throw my hat out there for Arizona as just a team I think he should go to. But like I said, we mentioned a bunch of good teams.
Man, that's no doubt. I mean, I think the Chargers. I think Staley is definitely on the hot seat if he isn't already going to be let go.
I'm about to say they already fired the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. So I mean, I don't know. Usually, whenever you start cleaning house like that, usually that's a sign of maybe your head coach might not be gone, but his leash ain't going to be long. And I said that on Tuesday.
That's like step one, and then usually step two. Then the next year would be the head coach. But
that's it.
But I think the Chargers could be a good spot. I think the Broncos and Cardinals each have their own merits.
Broncos be a good one too. He can work with an experienced pro like Russ and maybe get him turned around because right now that is the worst deal of the offseason. I gotta say, just with how much they've paid him and how little they produce.
But that's kind of what he does. He does kind of turn people around, though, doesn't he?
I mean that's what he built his career off of, Jay. I mean, prior to him coming to the Saints, I mean, they were just a team. Honestly, they weren't competing for championships. I mean, they were not a really kind of looked at franchise. You thought, oh man, look what the Saints could do. They were, I mean, yeah, they were a laughingstock for a while. I mean, not many people feared the Saints. And then once he took over in the mid 2000s, then they became. I mean, they won a championship with him. They were looking solid in the NFC South for many years. They were competitive.
Right.
They always had a good team. Obviously, there's scandals, but that's for another story. But I mean, his teams are always, at least if they're not winning divisions, they're at least in the fight for it. And that's kind of what.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what whoever picks him up is going to want. And obviously, I think he can still he's still a great coach, and he can extract that out of players.
Man, I'll tell you. Hey, again, I think the Broncos. They have a fairly decent team. I think Sean Payton can stamp right in with the Broncos. Probably, reorganize some things, redo some things, and tweak it up a little bit. And I think the Broncos are going to be ready to go. I think that'd be the least team that he would have to do with. And then, of course, the Chargers, too. But the only problem with the Chargers is when he takes over the team, he's going to have to deal with a lot of injuries. That's the only thing that's going to hurt him would be the injuries with the Chargers. Arizona, you do have D-Hop, but you got Kyler Murray. I'm not a real big Kyler Murray fan. So I don't know how much Arizona would benefit from him. Texans, probably not, because they're just so – unless he wanted to go there and just do a complete rebuild, and you got the number 1 pick or number 2 pick, you're going to get a quarterback out of it, and then you can go that direction too. So there is a number of ways you can go. I still think Dallas is a wide open shot for him. I think the only thing that keeps him from going to Dallas would be Jerry Jones. If he can work around the Jerry Jones issue, I think we could see Sean Payton in Dallas, but that's a very big issue to work around. So for that measure, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket, Logan. I'm just not going to do it.
I feel you. All right, what we got up next?
Yes, man. And what we got up next is Triple A.
Oh, here we go.
Electronic umpires in all of the ballparks, actually. And what they're going to do is half the teams are going to play with an electronic ump. The other one are going to practice with some kind of challenge flag. Like you have 3 times to challenge a pitcher on their pitch or whatever. And they're going to see, I guess, which system works the best. And I'm guessing whatever system works the best, that's going to be the one that MLB will officially go to. I'm okay with electronic umps. I really am, because I think it keeps everything fair. If it's a strike, it's a strike. If it's a ball, it's a ball. And I think it's less challenges.
Yeah. And also, too, Jay, I think so half the season they're going to have just completely robotic umpires. You're going to see on the screen, on the big screen, if it was a strike or a ball, which, Jay, that's what they do on television they have it in the bottom corner of the screen already. You can see if it's a ball or a strike. So they're going to do that for half the year. Obviously, like I said, all AAA clubs are going to do this. And for the other half, they're going to have actual umpires there. But they're going to have that challenge system. I think you said you get 3 per game. And, you can challenge if it was a ball or a strike. You can use all 3 of those up. And, we'll see at the end of the year what the percentage is for that. But, obviously baseball is going through kind of an identity crisis in recent years. They're trying to evolve. They really have to evolve in order to gain a younger audience. Because, as much as we love baseball, and I don't give a damn how long it can go on for, that's just not the case for a lot of people. This is the only sport besides golf that does not have a clock. Hey,
that guy that's watching a Tuesday afternoon baseball game and he got to be at work next day at 7 a.m., yeah, he going to want them electronic gums. We got to get this game moving. I got to get home. I got to beat traffic. Hey, I get it. All reasons. I get all of them. I do. But really, I want the fairness in the game. I want the fairness of my guy's strike zone to be the same fairness for another guy's strike zone and vice versa.
Yes. And Jay, as long as we've been baseball fans, and obviously there's times when umpires are in favor of our teams who give us a benefit, and then we get screwed over sometimes also. That's just how it is. But with this, you get a level playing field, Jay, and that's all we want. We want a level playing field. Because, I've always thought it was stupid for guys to argue with umpires and get ejected over balls and strikes because they can't overturn it. They literally can't. But now, with that challenge system, And with now half the season just being fully electronic, now you can see if it was a ball or a strike. You really can't argue against it anymore. You really can't.
No, you
I
really
mean,
can't.
the only time, they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do for batters boxes right on the corner or something like that, I could see. But, I mean, Jay, majority of the time, I mean, this electronic system, I'm full of it, man. I'm all good with it. Obviously, I think they're going to have actual umpires for the bases and stuff, obviously, for the foul lines, which, I mean, I thought you could eliminate the ones for the foul lines, too. I mean, also, another thing, we see replays of it on television. They show it on the big screens. We can see if it hits the chalk or not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would be kind of weird to see no umpires on the field. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a good step for baseball. I understand the human element, yada yada yada. That's fine, Jay. But man, we said it for a while now since we've been doing this show. With the game of baseball, you have to adapt or you're gonna die. And with the way ratings are, regular season, they're not doing much. I mean, games average probably close to 3 hours per ball game. So, I mean, you're just not attracting the right audience you want. Don't get me wrong. I might get hate comments for this. Baseball is looked at as an older person sport, one that people enjoy. And like you said, if you see highlights of all these fantastic NFL plays, of long touchdowns, of guys doing 360 dunks in the NBA, for baseball, you see these highlights, but they're not shared nearly as much. You don't see, videos of Mike Trout making an incredible diving catch or Aaron Judge hitting a 500-foot home run like you do a LeBron James dunk on a Wednesday night against Toronto. And that's in the playoffs. For baseball, you don't see that kind of coverage, and that's what they got to do. And that's a whole nother aspect of marketing. But
Right.
for on the field at least, I think this is a good change. I think this is a needed change. And obviously we talked about the other ones before with the bigger bases and stuff like that. Which I think the bigger bases is a thing, Jay. Obviously for player safety, also so guys don't get their ankles stepped on. But also we could maybe see an increase in stealing bases again. A definite lost art form, I think. A way to get an easier way to get home. And I mean, I think we could see more guys start swiping some bags with these larger bases now. I mean, I'm all for the robot umps, man. I mean, obviously it worked well. They did it in, I believe, single A last year. Now went all the way to triple A. And if it goes well, I mean, it would not shock me at all if we see major leagues do it next year.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. John Suggs, it's okay, man. I fully expect to hear a lot of Houston Astros comments when it comes to electronic comps. I've already geared up for it.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have my thick skin suit on.
There you go, brother.
Them irrelevant
there you go.
Hey, nobody care about them irrelevant Yankees, man. Nobody cares.
Hey, Jay, we might be in the winter, but that was a hot take, my friend.
That was a hot take, baby.
And here we go again, Tom Brady and the Raiders. We talked about a little bit earlier. I'm welcoming it. I'm cool with it. Obviously, I'm not going to come out here and talk for 5 minutes about it. I would love it. I don't want Jarrett Stidham as my quarterback. He did fine. He did his thing. He balled out best games of his life. But is he the answer? I don't think so. And if they don't get Tom Brady, draft a quarterback. I mean, it's that simple, Jack. It's that simple. It's either for me, it's either you get Tom Brady or you draft a quarterback. I don't care.
I come back to this one though because I felt like, if we didn't have enough time in the beginning, I wanted to kind of touch on a couple. I felt like if Tom Brady is literally going to do another year in the NFL, it's not going to be with the Tampa Bay Bucks. It's just not.
That's a team who
win there. Byron Leftwich just got fired. I'm sure Todd Bowles is next up. And there's just too much dysfunction in that organization. And that offensive line just isn't good enough to protect Brady so Brady can do what Brady does. So I think, in my opinion, his best outlook or his best option would be to go to the Raiders because, they're going to have to get Josh Jacobs under contract because he's going to be running back. But I'm telling you, man, when you team him back up with Josh McDaniels, his old school, coordinator, to where Brady is comfortable to do Brady-like things, and all of them are going to be on the same page. They're all going to be on Tom Brady's page. There's not going to be any kind of left, right, up or down. Devontae Adams will get his balls. Damn good and well Waller's going to get his. He's going to use Waller just like he used Gronkowski. So I don't see any problems with Tom Brady fitting in with the Raiders. Matter of fact, I think it's the best place for him to fit in. That's going to be competitive, has the right coaching staff, and can get him into another championship level game.
Hey, and I love what you just said there, Jay. But there is one issue that you mentioned that Tampa had this year that Vegas also has, and that is the offensive line. The Raiders have not had a good offensive line since I was in diapers, and they have Rich Gannon at quarterback, pretty much, it feels like. So It's been a hot minute. Like you said, they got a good offense. They got Waller, Adams, you mentioned, Jacobs. That those guys are rocking. They're looking good. The defense has some good pieces. I love Crosby. I like him. He's a solid guy. Chandler Jones, whatever, hopefully he can stay healthy again and help out next year. But yeah, like you said, I think McDaniels would really kind of help benefit from this. Some games obviously wasn't a big fan of him this year, but obviously they're going to stick with him as much money as they paid him, and they can't really get rid of him either. So I got to just kind of accept it, right? Take your medicine, accept it.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But, I mean, Jack, whenever you get Tom Brady in there, you can't really coach him a whole lot. He's going to be the one coaching.
Hey, the guy like Tom Brady, all you could do for that at this point would be to just give him whatever he wants in terms of O-line, receivers, and just let him do his thing.
And also –
And I'll tell you right now, the Raiders, either in free agency or this draft, they're going to have to draft or bring in players that can protect Brady. That's the only way it works for the Raiders. Is that
honestly, Jay, I think that it's going to be free agency for the O-line because it's very hard to draft an offensive lineman and have him be a star year one. And that's what you got to have if you do get Tom Brady under center. You have to have someone. John said dealing for Carmen giving up maximum of second-round pick that would take on his contract was due to guarantee $40 million. How about we do this, Jay? How about we just do a swap? Give Tampa Derek Carr, give Tampa and give Vegas Tom Brady, and then whatever else you want to throw in there. Yeah, yes, John. He has a no trade clause, but he can always waive it. I mean we've seen that before for multiple sports and multiple players.
He's gonna waive it because he's already.
I mean, like we said earlier, he's gonna get cut or he's gonna get traded. I'm just throwing out the idea of trading him. Obviously, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm just saying, but yeah, we'll see what can happen. Though. We'll see if I'm gonna be rocking a. Oh God, Frankie would have nightmares about Tom Brady in a Raiders jersey. Oh God, I just kind of want that just for that reaction, man. He said, I'd rather have Carr. Oh, John Suggs.
Man.
Ooh. Hey, Jay, you know what we got to do?
But I understand where he's going with that.
Hey, we got to, what I'm going to do, Jay, for next week or whatever. I got to make a new, a little button for you or a small video that's just a hot take that comes across the screen.
Oh, hell yeah.
Bro, John Suggs is cooking with propane right now with that, man. Oh, Frankie, I don't know if you'd hear, bro. I wish you were, but he said, I'm a pastor. But Frank, John, we'll bring that up to Frankie in our private convo, and we'll let you know what he says about that. But hey,
I'm gonna wait until we get towards the end of the show to throw out those flamethrowers when Frankie wasn't here.
I know, right? But yeah, that's a hot take, brother. But yeah, I'm cool with Brady on the Raiders. Case closed. I mean, if you can get him, you get him. If not, draft C.J. Stroud or someone high. That's all. That's what I need. I don't need another free agent. Hey, we'll rock with that for now, John. We'll take that right now.
Man, hell yeah!
Not until we get something more official looking.
Man, yeah, we will. But hey, final thoughts, man. Logan, what are your final thoughts, brother?
Yeah, man. Like I said, sports are rocking right now. Football is coming to its apex, coming to the peak. Baseball pitchers and catchers report. I think it's about a month and some change away. right at the end of October. Also saw, let's see, NBA's looking pretty solid, right? I mean, I think for me, just a quick talk about, I think that Jokic is still looking like my MVP, 3 straight solid seasons, man. Just how this dude looks unstoppable, Jay. And I love watching him play. He's so crafty and just there's so much about him. Also, Luka Doncic, get him out of Dallas for God's sake. That dude he's too good to be on a losing team like that. And they just have not built around him properly, Jay. I mean, my God, if they had a good team around him, like a Denver or like a Boston, just a team of some good role players. I mean, Dallas could be a top seed, but it's just him. And I don't care how good you are, Jay. It is damn tough to be a one-man show, not just for one game or two, but every single night.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, look, all of the greats have had some good backup players to help them out. I mean, Jordan, Bird, Johnson, LeBron, all these guys, Kobe, they had pieces around them to help out. And Luka just ain't have that yet, man. And it's hate to see. I don't want to see him waste his prime, waste his talent, and not get even close to getting a championship. I don't want that because I love watching that dude play. John said the Kings, my surprise team this year. It's a bonus dude. He's like, bro, I am rooting for the Kings. I don't care, man. I want them to just get to the playoffs, Jay. They have not went to the playoffs since I was in elementary school. That was, I think, 2006.
It's been a long time, Logan.
Hey, and I think
John Gruden years.
I think we're all in agreement, man. Just as a feel-good story, I don't care about the Kings, right? I'm not a Kings fan. I'm a Hawks fan. But I want the Kings to at least get to the playoffs, Jay. I want them to at least play a game, if not a series, just because, God, that fan base has been in the trenches.
What was that? That was last year in the playoffs. They had the Maloofs. Well, I guess the Maloofs don't own it, but yeah,
they had like Mike Bibby, maybe like an old Chris Webb. They didn't have many dudes at all on that team. But no,
that's what Bloody Divac was.
Yeah. Hey, like I say, give me the Kings in the playoffs this year. I'm rooting for them, man.
Hey, give me some Hideo Turkoglu and
oh, there we go. Turkoglu, baby.
Hey, it's the Peja Stojakovic.
Oh yeah, Stojakovic was rocking. Jason White Chocolate Williams out there too. It's going crazy. But no, give me the Kings in the playoffs, man.
That was, man. To not win a championship, one hell of a team. I don't care what anybody says.
That was a great team. Same with like the Sixers too in the early aughts. I mean, the Sixers with Iverson, Dikembe, Eric Snow and company. They were doing the damn thing. John, he said Kings are my surprise team. He said 05-06 last in the playoffs. What are you talking about? Man, we're just reminiscing, John. We're reminiscing about the glory days of the Kings 20 years ago. All right? Look, I was just saying. But no, man. I think all of us are unscripted for the most part. Maybe Frankie might oppose to it. But, man, I think all of us low-key at least want the Kings in the playoffs. Just to look for a game.
You know what? Hey, my Rockets are dead last. I'm telling you now, I'm rooting for the Kings. I'm rooting for any underdog at this point right now. I don't care. Underdog.
Hey, I'm about to say. Like I said, the fans deserve it, Jay. Light the beam out there in Sacktown. Give me the Kings in the playoffs this year. I ain't giving you a seed number, so I can't tell you. But give me the playoffs. That's all I want.
And all right. How that cookie crumbled. Hey, let me tell you what I want. I want a lot of things, Logan. I don't really want a lot. I just want another MLB championship. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe a Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl. That would be amazing. Oh my gosh, what a time to be alive! What a time! What a time! But no, hey, listen, guys. Like Logan had said earlier in this show, a couple of things. Number one, please make sure you check us out on Twitter. Unscripted Guys, all one word. Unscripted Guys on Twitter, and then Unscripted Sports, all one word on TikTok. And of course, we're on YouTube under Unscripted, followed by the show date, and Facebook. Those are all, and live TV. Tiki Live, I think, is what we're on. Yeah, with ASAP. So
yeah, over there. And also, like I said, one more time, we got to promote it, Jay. Robert Duran Jr., superstar boxer, coming on the show Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you want to check out a little bit of hype video about him, check us out on TikTok. Made a little video about him earlier this week. So go over there, check it out, and it's going to be a good interview with him, man. We're all going to ask him some questions, talk about some fights he's got coming up potentially, and just get inside the mind of a pro athlete again, man. He's always good to interview, a good dude, and excited to talk with him again.
So I guess before we get out of here, it says 3-team trade: get Carr and DeAndre Hopkins in.
Come on. Man, Vegas would be stupid if they traded both of them, man. Ain't no way. If that's the case, man, I'm taking my jersey.
Frankie would fall out of his chair, though.
Oh, man. Hey, if that's the case, just give me like a Max Crosby jersey or something at that point, man. I don't know who else would even be on the damn team on offense. Give me Darren Waller. I mean, I love him, but come on, man. You're not giving up. I would not give up Adams.
And on that note, folks, make sure you check us out 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time Saturday. Like Logan said, we will have Robert Duran Jr., son of Roberto Duran, the boxing legend, on the show to talk everything boxing and everything else that we could think of. So there'll be some sports updates, scores updates, whatever thrown in. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a hell of a good time. I can't wait, again, to talk to Robert and pick his brain a little bit more about what's going on in his upcoming boxing matches. So you don't want to miss that. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard
Set the calendars. Set
on Saturday.
Put it in the calendar. You don't want to miss it, Jay. It's going to be electric.
It's going to be the shiznits. God, what a time to be alive. Damn it, son. I get boxing legends. I get football. I get jacked in. Man, I don't know what can make it. Well, man, maybe I'll get some sex. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a hell of a good night. I'll tell you, it's going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night.
We're veering into our unscripted after dark territories now, Jay. It's time to wrap up the show. We love you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the show. Thank you once again. We will see you Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern. Robert Duran Jr. You don't want to miss it. Jay, hit that outro for me, please.